morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I'm your host, Jeff Dawson, ECSI founder of the East Coast Sports Investors and the Breakfast Bankroll, where today from Cape Cod to Cancun, from Tampa to Taipei, from Vegas to the Vatican, we will have you covered on the MLB sports market today. We'll recap yesterday's results and much, much more. Had planned to be starting the show at 10 a.m. today, but breaking news. Basically, haven't been able to get off the phone, but as you all know by now, Cam Newton was released by the Patriots, and it's the start of the new era as Mac Jones from Alabama will be the Patriots starting quarterback on Sunday, not this Sunday, the following Sunday, against the Dolphins. Currently, the Patriots are -2.5. We'll see if that number moves at all. But a lot to talk about. But without further ado, my co-host, the man from the Palm Tree State himself, the one, the only, Mr. Scott E. Webb. Scotty, my brother, what is up?
Good morning, Jeff. And I guess it doesn't matter really what's going on in the world of sports when you release Cam Newton, and it's a big deal, and then the whole world goes crazy.
You know, I've been drafting for 2 months, and in the Draft Champions League, it's a set 'em and forget 'em. You don't put your rosters in. It's best ball, no waiver wire, yada, yada, yada. So I have 11 teams, and all 11 teams, I have Mac Jones. I figured he'd be the starter eventually, maybe week 5 or 6. And then I've been drafting some online championships the last 2 weeks, and I have a couple more coming up this weekend in New York, and they were still giving you Mac Jones late in these. And again, I already have a starting quarterback, but again, on the speculation that Cam was just holding the spot. The truth of the matter was initially, Bill wanted to get Cam through the first 4 weeks. That week 4 is a game at home versus Brady and the Bucks. Don't let the kid get involved in any of this. We'll maybe move Cam along week 5 or 6. What it sounds like now was last year we dealt with Cam and COVID around that week 5 in Kansas City. Okay. Now this year, we had to deal with it again. Okay. He won't get vaccinated. He's supposed to be the leader. Maybe Bill had enough, seen enough. I don't know what it was, but this does come as a shocker for them just to cut loose at this point. But initial thoughts, Scotty. I mean, again, for some people, it's not big news. Around here, it's big news because, listen, for a year, we were looking to replace Brady. You got him. You win the championship. The rest is history there. Bill's still sore because he drafted the next guy, Jimmy G, and was basically asked from Mr. Kraft and Tom Brady, hey, you got to get rid of this guy. We did it. Now we got the heir apparent, supposedly. But what's the thoughts from you looking outside in with them cutting Cam and the Mac Jones era beginning?
I don't think Cam Newton was going to be the catalyst that got this team to a division-winning football. So it doesn't matter to me, so to speak, when they get rid of Cam Newton. I don't think he had total control of that team anyway. I mean, that's a hard thing for players to do. I mean, Tom Brady obviously was in control when he was there, but I mean, that's Bill Belichick's team. That's the coach's team. That's kind of how that team works. However, I am not necessarily as high on everybody as Mac Jones as everybody else is. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I just mean that in a sense that he's a rookie quarterback. And it doesn't matter if you're the best player out of college football and you're the rookie quarterback or not. These guys go through so much and they have to learn so much. And I keep seeing these things all over Twitter where this guy's PFF grade was X, Y, and Z, and he's the best guy, and he was the best thing in all these preseason games. Okay, well, preseason games. You and I've been discussing this a little bit, maybe some privately, not on the show as much. But these preseason games, guys, they're scrimmages. They're not even trying to score points. They're not trying to do a whole lot. Sure, they want to see their players in specific situations, but you've seen the scores. You've seen how these games turn out. These are not. I mean, I don't even know why they play them. I mean, like we said yesterday, I think you get more out of a team coming up and scrimmaging and practicing with these players and these guys for 2 or 3 days before the games. So now you're going to turn over the leash and you're going to turn over the reins, and I hope he does well, and I hope he gets off to a good start because he seems like he has good footwork. He seems like he makes good decisions with the ball. But he's now going to see number one defenses. He's now going to see game plans against what Patriots may seem to want to do, and he's going to have a lot to learn. So, I just think that as you go along down the road, if Cam wasn't your guy, I'm okay with getting rid of him early and letting your other guy grow some. So it's interesting for me is the same scenario as, so to speak, is playing out in Chicago, right? So you have the kid from Ohio State that came in there and he's been doing, I don't know, he's been kind of learning on the run, but he can make plays. And then you have Andy Dalton in there, he can't get first downs. So I mean, I don't know, and that's again in the scenarios we talked about, those are tough spots to put kids in. But you have to do what's best for your football team. And if it's best for the football team that Mac Jones is the starting quarterback, then you got to support it one way or the other.
And going to the Justin Fields, again, same scenario. It's not if, it's when. And again, I could maybe be wrong on this. A lot of people talking about this. The fact that they got to travel to the Rams, brand new stadium, the fact that Donald's there, the fact that their O-line is not good there. It's almost like Andy's taking one for the team here. Listen, we don't want to start Justin, throw him into the fire, and have him get sacked 4 times by Donald, never mind get hurt. So, Andy, take this one for the team here, and then we'll reassess for week 2 moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of different things that go into play here. I mean, talking from a business perspective, and you can do this in baseball too, but these guys are assets. I mean, I get it. They're human beings, but they are multi-million-dollar assets. And these assets drive money into these teams and obviously drive wins and championships and all that kind of stuff. But it's all about money. And the truth of the matter is if you're in fear of one of those assets being damaged goods or tainted for the rest of his career just because he's starting a game against a team that probably ought to dominate. The reality is that it's good to bypass that situation. So yes, I think you're right. I mean, I think you have to sit there and evaluate what your assets are worth and what they're worth after a certain week or after 6 weeks.
Last night in the Diamond, favorites 83. Overs 4 and 7, big dogs at cash, Rangers plus 135, Angels plus 175, Cardinals plus 186. The Evil Empire, if I am correct now, has lost 3 in a row. Your Rays, it's funny when a lot of people don't follow these games pitch by pitch. Okay. So whether I'm in the office or I'm downstairs at the desk and I got I have the 8 games going on, and of course I get the volume to the Red Sox. And we talked about the Red Sox first 5 with slight edge with Pavetta. The Red Sox killer is Brandon Lowe. So first pitch, homer, 1-0. And I'm going to be sarcastic here, but thanks for playing. I mean, they set the tone. Yes, we tied it up. And I did on Twitter, I put on the timeline, and I feel I'm going to stick to this. When you ask someone who's going to win the American League pennant, okay, I can guarantee you this. The first words out of their mouth is going to be Yankees, White Sox, Astros. Okay, and I said very nicely, good luck beating this Rays team in a 7-game series. It's just, again, a bunch of no names for the public, the degens, okay? the fact of the matter is they were one bonehead managerial point mistake away by pulling a pitcher from going to a game seven. They've been there. They've done that. They're seasoned. I know Chicago's got a better front three. I know the Yankees are peaking. Okay, you can say what you want about the Astros. I don't see it. I mean, today I'm going to tell you, you're getting the same price with the Yankees as some other teams. I don't see how you beat this team in a 7-game series.
Well, I think what nobody talks about with this team is they spent a reversal of fortune at the beginning of the season, right? So they get rid of pitchers. Charlie Morton's gone, and Blake Snell's gone, and all these guys. And how are they going to survive, right? Well, they invested on the offensive side, and the truth of the matter is they really don't do that very often. So they're all about pitching, and they got pitching like in the minor leagues, and they just bring up a guy, and all of a sudden you got another guy that throws 98 miles an hour, and he can put the ball wherever he wants to, and he throws sidearm, or he does this, or he does that, or whatever, right? So he's just plug and play in whatever they do. But the Tampa Rays are the number one scoring team in all of baseball, Jeff, and no one knows that. I mean, they scored more runs so far this year than any team. No other team, the Astros, whoever, it don't matter who you want to put up there, they have scored more runs than any other team. So then you combine that with that mix and match and parlay, whatever you want to call it, type pitching performances that they do. Then you kind of get the idea of what this team is all about. I mean, they are about the numbers, and they are about sabermetrics and who can hit and who can't, and in detail, and go way, way deep into the matchups and all that stuff. So they're showing you how to do it. And especially, the worst thing about this is that there's, I live down here. So the public perception is that nobody follows the Rays, and they only get 6,000 people or 7,000 people going to the stands and all this crap. And everybody reports on it. And in a lot of ways, that's all very true. But what nobody really reports on is that it's so difficult to get to those games and where they play at, because you can't. If you live in Tampa, the actual field's in St. Petersburg, and you have to go across 2 bridges to get there, and it's a pain to get across these bridges. And if you live further south, you got to drive 30-40 minutes to try to go over another bridge to get there. So it's not the most convenient thing in the world to go to them. However, their TV audience is very large. They get a lot of locals watching the team, whether they go there or not. They do get the support, and they do have a very high rating on the local broadcast. So it's not like they're not being followed, and it's not like that nobody cares about the Rays, because they all do. And if you talk to anybody out here, they're Rays and Bolts and Bucks, and everybody has gone gosh darn crazy.
I will just say this, and I'm going to little sarcastic here. You averaged 10 runs a game against the Orioles, and you are 18-1 against the Orioles. So, but again, they're on the schedule. Everyone in the East has to play the Orioles. It is what it is. So you're going to get a few of the naysayers saying that. So I just wanted to, throw that out there to the naysayers. It doesn't matter. If you really want to look at what the Rays have built here, why don't you go back and read how they built their bullpen with every different pitcher thrown from every different arm slot. So you don't know, they just change it here. It's insanity. And the other nerds are in charge, sabermetrics, analytics, whatever you want to say, but they've built an incredible team. And it's going to be exciting to see, come playoff time, what their numbers are and where it is. But with that said, Scotty, I had some boxes checked off today in today's card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in all. I'm going to bring them up right now. Yesterday's board looked a lot more enticing, but kind of surprised at some of the moves here, the overnight moves, the corrections, as we like to call them. I checked them off. I'll just quickly go over them for you. You see what you see. Mikolas and Gray, St. Louis at Cincinnati. And again, I talked to a lot of people yesterday about this matchup, and the key was very simply, which Lester are you going to get? He has been improving. And the fact of the matter is, what do? You get a 2-run homer by Goldschmidt right to start that first inning, set the tone, and they go on and win there. Cincinnati opened up minus 136, and now I'm seeing 160s on Cincinnati there. Philly and Washington, Moore versus Corbin. Phillies opened up minus 108, now seeing Washington with Corbin minus 114. Woodruff versus San Fran, undecided, opened at 115, did hit 130, now back to 115 there. Atlanta and the Dodgers, Morton versus Bueller. Bueller opens up at 165, Steen to 185. I see that 196 at Circa right now. Yankees and the Angels, Talion versus Berea. Yankees opened up at 117. I'm seeing minus 190s. So there's something obviously going on there.
Hey, Jeff, that one is because Ohtani was going to pitch, and then they made a line obviously for Ohtani to pitch, and now Ohtani's not pitching, so Berea's pitching, so that line changed.
And will obviously be a bullpen game for the Angels. And good note there as well. And last but not least, Pittsburgh and the White Sox. Wilson versus Giolito. White Sox opened at 250. Already up to 330. So again, that's what we saw from last night to this morning to the numbers that are released. So anything strange, anything that pops out to you?
Well, we just talked about that New York game, I was just waiting on a number when Berea was listed as the pitcher there. But these games are interesting today because I have tons and tons of red on my board today, which means bad pitching, should mean lots of offense, and except for the late night games, the late night games when you got Woodruff pitching and you're gonna have Snell pitching, and these guys, those are guys who are doing well and pitching pretty well. So what's interesting to me is we talked about this yesterday a little bit when we talked about Castillo pitching against Lester, and one of the things that I remember saying was we had the Cincinnati Reds, and they don't do well against left-handed pitching, and they didn't do well against left-handed pitching. It doesn't matter who it is. So today they don't have that. They don't have that disadvantage. And Miles Mikolas is not a guy who's a big strikeout guy. So there should be balls in play here. But the other side of that is Sonny Gray, who has been good over his last 3 starts, hasn't been good all season. And he has been extremely bad against the St. Louis Cardinals this year. So I'm going to expect there to be some runs in this game. And I think the game was opened at 8.5 or 9. And I think I don't know. I think that this game is one of those that you got to watch, because you might be able to get a good number on a first 5 kind of type thing on an over. I was looking at it and I couldn't find a good way to play it, but I'm expecting some runs in that game because I don't think Sonny Gray's as good as everybody thinks he is. He's very hittable, and Miles Mikolas just is not a big flame throwing guy. He's also a guy that's making not that many starts since he's come off the IL so far. So I don't like the Reds getting all that money. I don't think there's value there. I wouldn't follow that steam. The other one that I actually have a play on, and you talked about the Philadelphia Washington game, and you said Washington was getting the money here. And these are 2 pitchers that are both horrible. I mean, these guys have not been good. We've talked about Matt Moore on this show, several times, and we haven't really talked about Patrick Corbin, but his game score for the whole season's a 42, and that's really bad. That's not very good. But Mr. Moore says, "Hey, hold my beer. I'm a number 40 game score for the whole season." Neither one of these guys can get anybody out. They get hit quite often. However, metrics, numbers wise, Corbin's the better pitcher. So then the question becomes is how do you play a game like this and what do you do? So you're gonna love this. Um, Matt Moore has a 4.92 Sierra number and a 13.3 walk rate. So he gives up a lot of runs and he puts a lot of guys on base. And what's interesting, he's pitched against Washington 3 times. One time he was the starter, and the other 2 times he was kind of a middleman. So he has a total of 9 innings pitched so far against the Washington Nationals, and he's given up 10 hits in those 9 innings and 8 runs. So I'm expecting, again, performance to be one of those situations where he's going to give up the runs again. Because when I flip back and I look at his numbers, and you know they're not the same team anymore, right? So you don't have you don't have some of the players that were on Washington that was there before. But of the players who are remaining, they just beat him up. His WOBA number, weighted on base number, against the team that he's facing today is 471. So almost a 50% weighted on base average, and the ISO rate is 373. So let me put these into perspective. So a WOBA number that's average is about 330, somewhere in that neighborhood, and he's 471. And his ISO number, that's the isolated power. So these are not necessarily just home runs, but extra base hits, is 373. And your average number is going to be right around 185. So he's faced these guys in the lineup 51 times. And out of those 51 times, they have 17 hits, for God's sakes, and 6 home runs. Holy cow. So you got to figure out a way to play this game. So what I did, and I started looking at this game, and I'm like, this game could go over 9.5. This game can be all kinds of stuff. So what I settled for the first 5 innings team total for Washington over 2.5. And I got -101. And I'm like, holy cow, I can't pass that up. It's kind of like yesterday, right? When we did the game with Wheeler, and we did the first 5 innings. I'm like, how can you not pass it up, right? So I'm doing the same thing here with the Washington team total, trying to find a way to play it, and that's the way I chose to do it. So I kind of like that one. And of the other games that you had mentioned, I had one of those games listed on my board, but I'm not going to play it. It's the Atlanta and the LA Dodger game. I like that game to go under the number. Walker Buehler, he is the Dodgers' best pitcher, and I know they have Scherzer, but Walker Buehler is their best pitcher. And this is the time of year that Walker Buehler shows up. At the beginning of the year, in the middle kind of part of the year before the All-Star break, you always go, where in the hell is this damn Walker Buehler guy, and why does he always have great numbers at the end of the season? Well, Walker Buehler, over his last 7 starts, has a game score 70, not 60, 70. That means that he's like almost unhittable. So he's got a 3.13 xFIP number. He strikes everybody out. He doesn't walk anybody. His batting average against is 180. He allows 0.99 guys on base per inning. He has a good ground ball rate for a big strikeout type pitcher. So he's a bulldog on the mound. That win WPA number we talk about, winning percentage added, is 0.93. That's very, very good. And Morton is just as good. Well, I shouldn't say just as good. He's pretty close. I mean, his last 7 starts, game score 59, so almost ace-like. He's got a 2.14 xFIP number, so he's even better than what Buehler is. But I just look at this game, and I think that that's going to be an under. didn't play it because I don't like that 7.5, especially if it gets into the bullpens, and these bullpens, it can give up 2-3 runs right away. So if you're going to play it, you might want to look at a first 5 under in that particular game. I've got a couple other games, but I don't have any of those that you're talking about. I do like Woodruff. I mean, Woodruff's a good pitcher, and it doesn't matter who the Giants are going to throw. They're going to be the underdog today again. But Woodruff is not as good as Burns was yesterday, and he's a little more hittable. So just have to keep an eye on what the line comes out there as. And I know you said it went up and then it went back down again. We don't have a listed pitcher, so maybe it's a bullpen kind of game. I know Wood was supposed to pitch, but I think he went on COVID leave or something crazy like that. So I think there's 4 games we don't have a listed pitcher in right now.
Correct. So with that being said, why don't you, for all the listeners out there, give us your takes for this afternoon and this evening.
All right. Well, just kind of a recap of yesterday. I was 2-1 yesterday. We won with Minnesota and Ober there, and we won with Wheeler. And I lost with going against the Rays there in the first 5 innings. Thought I had a chance when it was 1-1 there for a little bit, and then, well, it was 3-1, so it wasn't like a blowout. And then all of a sudden it became 6-1. So I mean, then it became that bad. But today I took the Washington Nationals. We talked about that over the 2.5 in the first 5 innings. And here's an interesting game that I'm playing today. And it's kind of one of those Oakland versus Detroit matchup here. This is Irvin, and they are just off of a 2-2 game series against the New York Yankees. But Skubal has been the Detroit Tigers' best pitcher over the last month. And his numbers are really, really good. He's got a 2.95 xFIP and a 301 Sierra number. And I don't think anybody knows that. He's been really, really good. He's got a 30% strikeout rate and only a 3% walk rate. So that means balls are less in play, and he's controlling the game from the mound. Irvin is a guy that's been a soft tosser all season long. He's been doing fairly well, but I think he's hit the wall here, Jeff. He's a 36 over his last 3 starts on game score. He's a 50 over his last 7 starts. And for the season, it's a 54. So you can see that steady decline as it's going down. And we talked about this. He wasn't somebody expected to pitch all season long for them at the beginning of the year. You know, he's the guy that replaced Luzardo in the starting lineup in the rotation. So he's a guy that at this point has probably pitched as many innings as he's ever pitched before. And I think he's tired, and I think he's going to struggle. His number is 6.59 on the Sierra side and 6.48. His strikeout rate right now is 7%. I could probably go out there and strike out 7% of the guys, and he's striking out 7%. And his walk rate's 9, so he's putting more guys on base, and his batting average against is almost 300. He's got almost 2 guys on base an inning. So I like the idea that you can get Detroit. I played them in the first 5 innings. I don't know if the line stayed the same or not, but I didn't take the runs. I got them at plus 103 in that game.
Actually, you got to flip now. First 5, I'm seeing at Circa minus 122, Westgate 117, South Point 115. So they're pointing out basically what you are saying is they see the edge there with Skubal in that first 5.
Yeah, I'm sorry we didn't get on sooner to let you get in on it before the line moved, but it's okay to ride that number. Those numbers aren't bad. So you know you're not paying minus 150 to play this game. So I would anything up to 120, 125 is probably good here. The other and I don't know. This is one of these days where you end up with a couple of games. The other one that I thought was kind of interesting too is Houston's playing Seattle, and then these games have been nip and tuck, and Seattle's been playing pretty competitive. But I like Houston today, and I like McCullers. McCullers has been pretty consistent. His last three starts has been a 57, almost 58 on the game score, and on the season it's a 58 on the game score. He's pitched twice against Seattle, and the first time he threw a 60, the second time he threw a 40. Well, I shouldn't say the way. He threw a 48 the first time, a 60 the second time, so he pitched better. And his numbers are really good right now. 3.68 Sierra number, 3.45 XFIP number with 27.5% strikeout rate. So those are all in the green. And he's facing Kikuchi, who over his last three starts is a 29, and over his last seven starts is a 42. So he's been struggling, and he's pitched against Houston 4 times this year. The last time he pitched against them, he had a game score -1. I mean, that's terrible. That means he probably gave up 10 runs in 2 innings or something. He had a 41. He had an 83 and a 52. So he's had an average game, an above average games, and 2 crappers. And his numbers don't indicate that he's going to throw well today. And the best part is he's a left-hand pitcher. The Houston Astros are the number 1 offense in all of baseball against a left-handed pitcher. So then you got to try to figure out how to play this one. So I went ahead and I did the -0.5 run in the first 5 innings because I'm betting on McCullers. I'm not betting on their bullpen. And I got it at -115. Is that still the same?
I dropped 5 cents. You can basically.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I mean, if I don't, for when I play these games and how I handicap the games, I don't worry about where the lines move. In baseball, now football is a whole different story. But baseball, I don't really worry about where the lines go because it's a daily thing, and I'm not handicapping the lines as I do. I have my own lines, but I'm more handicapping the games. And the last one, Jeff, that we talked about that I didn't play was the Atlanta game in the Dodgers. I had it at under 7.5. Is that -105?
Let's get a full game up there. Total. I got 7.5. Under -110.
Yeah. So I mean, if you don't mind putting a little money, beer and pizza money on a game like that, and you want it to be interesting for you, you can do that. But I'm telling you, for whatever reason, this Arizona San Diego Padre game is driving me crazy. I originally wrote down I wanted to play that game under, and then I scratched that out, and then I wrote I want to play Snell in the first 5 innings -0.5 run. Then I scratched that out, and I'm like, just get away from that game and don't worry about it and just get something else. So, I mean, I got a lot out there today, so we'll see what happens.
And we've talked at length here. The market changes every day. And for us here at ECSI, we've seen a big change the last 10 to 12 days. On our side, the VIP side, we took the day off. I told the boys on Sunday, might give them Monday and Tuesday off. Yesterday's board was intriguing. Again, the one, it's funny. If the stove is hot when you were a kid, you always still wanted to touch it.
Yep.
In this business, when something smells, looks like so far out of whack, your tendency is to go to the stench. It's to go to the other side. They must know something. And yesterday was a perfect example. In other words, that Zach Wheeler number made 0 sense because his last 4, 5, 6 starts, -0.5 run, first 5, you were laying 130, 135, 140, even 145s. It was almost like they said, we're going to give you the okie dokie this time. And again, a lot of the sharper people that just follow these numbers and this side of the business, we're all on the other side. And like I says, it was a thanks for playing right after the first inning. And so, football getting closer. We have a handful of games on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So for the action guys, for the guys that need to scratch that itch. And what I like to tell everyone is just pump the brake. You made it. You made it this far. As you said, you have a handful of games. I use that spaghetti strainer. We're sifting. And I loved what you said to close. There's certain games that I just want to get in. How am I going to get in there? Is it first five? Is it team total? Is it under? Is it over? And then finally, I just said, grab the beer and popcorn. I'm just going to sit there and watch it.
Yeah, I what intrigues me about that game is Blake Snell. He is the best pitcher the Padres have over the last 30 days. And if you're going to ride Blake Snell, this is the time to ride him. So my thought is, and they're playing Arizona, for God's sakes, but they've struggled against Arizona, and Zach Gallen is pitching, and you either know Zach Gallen can be very, very good. He really hasn't been this season because he was injured and spent a lot of time on the IL and all that stuff. But so the question becomes is does Tatis carry that team again today, or does he not? And I sit here and I go, I'm not betting on that stuff. I mean, how do you know whether he's gonna, whatever. So I like Snell. I like the Padres in this game. I actually like under. I think that you're going to get a performance from Gallen that's pretty good. So I don't know, but I'm not playing it.
I want to thank everyone here watching, listening. If you got 2 seconds, that's all we ask. Run over to YouTube, East Coast Sports Investors. Hit the subscribe button. Takes you 2 seconds. Turn on the notifications. Do us that favor. And then if you can, jump over to Twitch at East Coast Sports Investors, where we'll be doing some live streaming throughout the season this fall in football, the baseball playoffs, where we can get some maybe some pre-flop numbers, and then we might be able to hedge or double down throughout these games as they're being played. Follow us at EC Sports Invest. We'll follow you back. Follow Scotty on Webby20MLB on Twitter. Throughout the rest of the week, we will be hitting the NCAAF and getting ready for some NFL. Follow us. Our timelines, we'll be putting out some nuggets throughout the day. Always remember this. If you are wagering, always wager with your head, not your heart. If you have a problem, pick up that phone. There's an 800 number right there, and reach out to someone. We're here to help, not hurt, and to educate, not entertain. So everyone have a blessed day. Best of luck with your wagers and investments today, and we will see you bright and early tomorrow.